Hi, my name is Enda Murray. I'm the director of the Irish Film Festival. I'm delighted to be joined tonight by Declan Recks, the director of Tarrac, and Kate Nic Chonaonaigh, who plays Jude. Guys, tá fáilte roimh. You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Declan, if I could start with you, could you just tell us a little bit about how this film Tarrac came about?
Yeah, sure. So TG Carr, who are the Irish language television station here in Ireland, and Screen Ireland, the National Film Board, they decided to make a scheme where they would make 3 or 4 Irish language films every year, of which the most famous one is obviously On Colleen Kuhn, which did very well last year at the Oscars, and so yeah, it was their idea to push this idea of making films that are all set in the Irish language. So the producer Tina Navukla, who I've worked with before, she contacted me, I think 2018, contacted myself and Eugene O'Brien, who's a regular writing partner of mine, and said, is there any story that you'd be interested in doing? And she had an idea she liked the world of, she thought there was something in the world of Naomh racing, which is very particular to the west coast of Ireland, particularly to Dingle. And I had seen a couple of regattas and thought, yeah, it is an interesting world that I haven't seen on screen before, which kind of appealed to me. And then, so we just basically sat around for a week and threw ideas around, and we settled on this father-daughter relationship, and the idea that they're both grieving somebody and dealing with it in very different ways. I think the idea kind of came from Cliona her dad had recently passed away, and we got talking about how people deal with grief and how some people deal with it straight on and upfront, and other people try and bury it away, and then it can suddenly come back to revisit you at any point in the future if you haven't dealt with it. So that was kind of the background to how we come up with the story. And originally as we started writing it, it was Bear was the lead character, but the more we got into it, the more we realized that Aoife's story was more interesting. So yeah, it was that's basically how it came about.
Great. Kate, rugad tú le Gaeilge Connemara.
Yeah, thank you, like
Gaeilge fear flush agata. How did you get involved in the project?
Well, same as anything, you're sent an email from your agent going, will you audition? And I kind of liked the character of Jude because she's quite ballsy. So yeah, and I also, to be honest, was really taken with the idea of having to train. I'm from Connemara, but I'd never been on a currach in my life, or a naomh. And they're very different. Because I trained on a currach in Connemara and then went down to Kerry going, I'm so able for this. And the first day was like, what is this boat? But yeah.
What is the difference?
Well, you have more people there's 4 in a naomh and 3 in a currach, but that's not the difference. The difference is how they handle. It's a very different feeling. Like a currach is much more, you feel like you're digging with a currach, whereas with the naomh it's a much lighter touch. So that was kind of a nice steep learning curve that Declan had on there the first week.
Yeah, it was tough because they were all training. The 4 actresses were training in different places. So Kate was training in Connemara, Kelly was training in London, and I think Rachel was probably in Dublin or London. I'm not sure where.
Rachel was in London as well, but like a little rowing boat kind of thing.
So the first time they all got together was the week before shoot. For a team sport, that's all about people working together. It was a tough ask that they only got to spend a week together before we started filming, but they were amazing. And I don't know if you're still doing it, Kate.
I'm not. I said I would. I'm like, I'm going to keep this up. The local lads here were really keen to have more people involved, but I have to get back to it. We had 2 great women as well in Kerry, Monza and Karen, training us, and they were just,
they were amazing.
So that was fantastic.
And did you, the burning question, did you have to give up the drink?
Who would do that? Who would do that in their right mind? I think it would probably make it more.
more aggressive. So Declan, you're originally from Offaly, and I was interested how you prepare for a film about West of Ireland culture. You wouldn't have rowed many currachs in County Offaly.
No, no. The closest I came was a canoe on the Brosna. So yeah, but I went out. I did go out one day with them, with Monza, who was the trainer down there, just so I could experience it. And it's like as Bear says in the film, it's the boats are giddy. Like as soon as you step on them, they start wobbling. Like they're literally just resting just on top of the water. But as a result, when you pull on the oar, you kind of glide through very fast. So it doesn't take much to get up speed in them. But yeah, it was an experience, and I'd shot a drama series for TG Carr back in sort of mid 2000s down in Dingle. So I was very familiar with the peninsula, and I had an idea of where I wanted to go, and I mean, you can't go wrong in Dingle when it comes to locations. Everywhere you point the camera, it looks incredible. So yeah,
Yes.
I mean, shooting in Dingle was really kind of key, even though like prior to COVID, because we had planned to shoot this in sort of late 2020, and then obviously COVID got in the way. But it's it was a very tight budget, and there was talk of we were looking at locations in Dublin, North Dublin, to try and see could we shoot it there, just because the cost of going to Kerry, because Kerry is such a popular tourist spot, it can be very expensive. So it was one of the few positive things that came out of COVID, is that the hotels were empty in Kerry. So we said, okay, this is our opportunity. We can go down and we can shoot in Kerry. So we were shooting during a lockdown, basically in late 2021. There had been a break, and then there was a new lockdown brought in. But yeah, so we shot in October, November, which is not a great time to be on the water. Just top tip there: if you're going to go on the water, probably best to avoid October, November.
Great. Hey, Kate, the family story with Bear and Aoife is one that might be familiar to families everywhere, but particularly given the tradition of emigration from west of Ireland. How did that story resonate with you, the father-daughter?
Yeah, I mean, I had a very different relationship with my father, but it's very interesting to me when adult children say come home to their home place with their parents, and how they revert to a lot of the same kind of idiosyncratic behaviors that they had as children that they've completely let go of in their day-to-day lives. But I thought that was really interesting with Aoife, how when she comes back to living with Bear, that they have all of these kind of old routines that they just can't get out of, that they get stuck on with each other, which kind of prevents them. And over the course of the film, you get to see them gnawing away at each other, but eventually moving into a place where they can bring their relationship to a new level, or a more kind of healthy and possibly truer version of who they are now, which is, I think, lovely.
Cool. Declan, the Tarrac was not your first project in Irish language. You directed Scoop in Belfast. What are the challenges of working in Irish?
Well, my main challenge is I'm not an Irish speaker, so I've got school Irish. So I rely very heavily on the translator on set, and also on having a dual language script. And the other challenge is, there are different dialects in the country, so Kate's Connemara Irish, and down in Kerry it's slightly different dialect, and up in the north they have a whole other dialect, and Donegal they have a different dialect. So that can sometimes be a challenge. You try and find a middle ground, that keeps everybody happy. And
Yeah.
I mean, Kate will be able to speak to that more than I would, but I'm sure we tried to keep Tarrac as true to the it being shot in Kerry as possible, but not everybody would naturally have spoken um, that dialect. I think, would that be fair enough to say?
Yes. Kate, I was going to ask you, but I've read, in the press pack about some of the statements that you've made about working in Irish. I'd be interested to hear your take on what it means to you to work in Irish.
I mean, I started working through Irish in my 20s because I'm one of the privileged people who is lucky enough to have the language as my native language. Sorry, it's all of our native language, but I'm lucky enough to have it as my mother tongue, is what I should say. But as I get older, it means more and more to me all the time. The fact that, I think especially now I have two children, a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, and to hear them with their native language as their first language. And even, having worked in TG Ceathair for many years, and I think they're doing astounding work, TG Ceathair, in their vision and their completion of how they really bring things to fruition. But to be able to show my children this world of Irish language work that's available for them to, view, consume, take part in, maybe eventually if they want to, that's something that, like, even now when I'm talking about it, I feel myself kind of filling with pride, because I think that, you look at the Irish language now and what it means to people in the country, it's very different to what it meant to people 20 years ago. You look at look at NECAP, look at what they're doing. It's being turned on its head, our ideas of what it meant to be an Irish speaker, to live your life through Irish. That's just all completely being turned on its head, and I think it's really powerful.
Yes. My dad was actually from Belmullet in County Mayo, which I didn't know was Gaeltacht until recently, because he didn't speak Irish with us. And I think it was something that unfortunately he was very ashamed of. But that was it's great that, as you say, things have turned on its head. We just had the preview last week for NECAP here, so that's wonderful. That's really nice. It's a great image of you chatting with the 10-year-old and the 5-year-old Oscarga. Declan, what was the most enjoyable thing for you working on the film?
There's so many things. I mean, working with the cast is always enjoyable, and just being in a place where tradition is very important. Like I love Dingle. If you haven't been there, is so worth a visit, because the people there are very passionate about the place, and I think obviously the language, the boats, all these traditions are very important down there, and there's quite a lot. It's quite a great collection of artists who live in Dingle or on the peninsula. So just being down there was really a great joy, just to be in Dingle, because the place just there's a special feeling about the place, and just and I think everybody felt that being there.
Yeah.
Kate, what was your most enjoyable memory that you've taken away from it?
I would say the same thing. Like Dingle, just like first of all, it's like another character in the film. But also, I was there with my family because my youngest was only 2 at the time, and I didn't want to be away from her for that stretch. But the first 5 days we had this crazy fog. I don't know if you remember that, Declan. It was just
Yeah.
you're walking through cloud, like it was. And I live in the West Coast. I live in Spiddle in the West Coast, and it's we have bad weather, but down there it was really surreal. But every time when I came home, my husband and the kids were like, "This place is amazing." And I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then on day 5, the fog lifted, and you're just like, "Oh my God!" It's like it's an epic landscape. It's like nothing else I know of in Ireland. And I love Ireland. I love the West Coast, but it's really, really Cian Sleva, Slayhead. It's really everybody should go there. Not in the summer. Not in the summer when it's crazy busy.
Well, I think you captured that really in the film. It was really beautiful, and the cinematography was great between the landscapes, but also how you got into onto the boat, and in amongst the women who were
What was important, we really wanted to make it feel like we were in there with them. And in fairness to Paddy Jordan or DP, he was in there with them.
Right.
That was definitely some of the scarier parts of our shooting, because Paddy's like, I don't know, 6'8", and really broad, And we're all like, well, I'm very tiny, and then we'd be in the boat, and as Declan said, the boat's very giddy, and
And Paddy be getting in and out. So we'd have a couple of support boats. And so when we were ready to put Paddy in the boat, we'd do it on water. We weren't back at the pier. So Paddy and camera had to get into the boat while the girls were already in the boat. So, or one of them would have to get out and take over. You don't want to drop the camera in. No, you don't want to drop anybody
the camera into the seawater. Hey, what's up next? Have you got anything on the horizon?
Well, I'm hopefully about to start shooting a second series of a show called Faithless, which we shot last year. And a quick plug: it's available on SBS On Demand in Australia. Yes. So it's written by and starring an Irish actor called Baz Ashmawi, and Baz is part Egyptian. So it's kind of it's a story about a family who are Irish Egyptian living in Dublin. And it's good crap.
Yes, I've seen a few episodes. Very good, very good. And Kate, what's up next for you? Have you got any emails arriving from the agent?
Nothing fascinating at the minute, but I do a lot of voiceover work, which is what I spend most of my professional time doing. A lot of voiceovers, so a lot of stupid voices that my kids then get to listen to.
Great. So we've run out of time here. Goramila Moega for taking the time, and best of luck with Tarrac and with the projects into the future. Slán agus beannacht.
Slán, and thanks.